Ben Youngs slams England after historic loss. To Italy, former Ben Youngs has delivered a scathing assessment of his former team following England's historic defeat to Italy national rugby union team in round 4 of the Six Nations Championship. Speaking candidly on his For the Love of Rugby podcast, the former England scrum-half didn't mince words, expressing disbelief and frustration at what he perceives as a structural and cultural problem within the national setup. Are we really going to accept losing to Italy? Like, really? Is that where we're at? Young said, I don't think so. The players are better than that. The talent out there is better than that. With the way it's set up, central contracts, resources, players, coaches, that should not be happening. I just don't agree that it should be happening. Young's comments came in the aftermath of a match in Rome that made history. Italy recorded their first ever victory over England, ending decades of dominance and sending shockwaves throughout the rugby world. For a nation long accustomed to finishing at the top of the Six Nations, this defeat was both unexpected and deeply humbling. The context of the defeat, England entered the match as strong favorites, with expectations of a routine victory over Italy. Historically, the Azzurri have been a stumbling block only sporadically, with their Six Nations record heavily skewed in favor of the Red Rose. Prior to this clash, Italy had never defeated England in the competition, making the outcome even more dramatic. The loss has put England under unprecedented scrutiny. Steve Borthwick's tenure as head coach, only a year into the Six Nations cycle, has been called into question. Critics, pundits, and fans alike have voiced concerns about team selection, tactics, and overall direction. The defeat to Italy, combined with earlier setbacks in the tournament, has raised questions about whether England are properly equipped, mentally and tactically, to compete at the highest level. Ben Young's criticism taps into this broader narrative. A veteran of 100-plus international caps, he has seen England operate at both the elite and transitional stages. His assessment points to what he sees as systemic failings, rather than isolated errors in execution. Young's critique of England's mindset at the heart of Young's frustration is what he perceives as a flawed approach to the game. According to him, the current England squad seems oriented around not losing rather than actively pursuing victory. It's the manner of the results and the lack of breakaway from the game plan, he explained. It's the lack of ideas. It's the same errors over and over. England looked like a team set up just to avoid losing rather than to win. And we're going to approach a game against Italy like that? The whole setup's wrong. That's not the mindset. I never go into a game thinking that. Madness. Young's words strike at the psychology of the team. While the squad is undoubtedly filled with talented players, he argues that talent alone cannot compensate for a conservative or reactive approach. Rugby at the international level requires creativity, decisiveness, and the willingness to take calculated risks. Attributes Youngs believes are currently underutilized that RFU forced to respond in response to the fallout from the loss. The Rugby Football Union, RFU, issued a public statement aimed at calming anxieties among supporters and media alike. CEO Bill Sweeney acknowledged the disappointment of recent results, but reaffirmed support for Borthwick and his coaching team. After a 12-match winning run, these past 3 results have been hugely disappointing, and we feel that just as much as everyone else, Sweeney said. Steve and his coaching team are working tirelessly to make improvements, and we remain fully committed to supporting them and the players as they face France this weekend, and then look ahead to the Nations Championship. While the statement emphasizes support and stability, it does little to address the concerns raised by Youngs and others about tactics, player development, and team culture. For many fans and commentators, the loss to Italy represents a line in the sand, forcing reflection on whether England's systems are sufficient to maintain their traditional standards of performance. The significance of the Italy's victory is historic for several reasons. Not only did it mark their first ever win over England in a major tournament, but it also demonstrated a shift in European rugby. Italy's squad has undergone a transformation in recent years, with a focus on player development, tactical awareness, and disciplined execution. Under the guidance of head coach Gonzalo Casada, Italy has moved beyond being perennial underdogs. Wins against Wales and Scotland earlier in the tournament had already signaled progress, But the Rome victory against England confirmed that the Azzurri can compete with the very best when preparation, passion, and precision align. For England, the loss is more than a statistical anomaly. It represents a potential turning point. If systemic issues aren't addressed, Youngs warns, the team risks sliding further from the elite echelons of international rugby. Tactical analysis analysts have noted several recurring problems in England's setup that contributed to the loss. 1. Conservative game plan. England often appeared reactive, prioritizing avoiding errors over creating opportunities. This left them vulnerable to teams willing to take risks, such as Italy. 2. Lack of creativity in attack. Despite possessing players with exceptional skill sets, England struggled to generate breakthroughs. Italy's defensive organization capitalized on predictable patterns and limited England's ability to exploit space. 3. Set-piece vulnerabilities. Scrums and lineouts, traditionally a strength for England, were contested more fiercely than expected. Italy's technical execution put England under pressure, forcing uncharacteristic errors. 4. Mental fragility under pressure. Key moments exposed a lack of composure, with players hesitating in decision-making and failing to adapt quickly to Italy's strategies. Young's comments echo these tactical concerns, emphasizing that the root issue lies not in individual performance, but in mindset, preparation, and coaching philosophy. Player accountability and leadership. While Youngs highlights structural and tactical concerns, he also implicitly calls for stronger leadership within the squad. Experienced players must drive standards on the field, fostering a culture that prioritizes ambition and execution. Captaincy, senior leadership groups, and coaching must collaborate to instill a mindset focused on winning, not merely surviving matches. Young's emphasis on attitude reflects the view that talent alone cannot compensate for mental shortcomings or conservative decision-making. Looking ahead, England versus France. England still have one final Six Nations challenge before they conclude what has been a disastrous campaign. Their upcoming match against France national rugby union team will serve as a litmus test for Borthwick's methods and the squad's resilience. A victory against France offers England a chance to finish fourth, but only under specific conditions. Italy must lose, and Wales must fail to capitalize in their remaining fixture. Conversely, if England falter and Wales or Italy succeed, England could finish at the bottom of the table for the first time in history. Such a scenario would not only intensify scrutiny on the coaching staff, but could also trigger a comprehensive review of the entire setup. From player development pathways to strategic planning, wider implications for English rugby. The loss to Italy highlights a broader conversation about the state of English rugby. Historically a dominant force in Europe, England's performance in the 2026 Six Nations raises questions about talent utilization, coaching methodology, and player management. Young's call for urgent change. Young's remarks are not merely reflective. They are a call to action. His frustration is rooted in the belief that England possessed the resources, talent, and coaching expertise to perform at a far higher level. Conclusion: England's historic defeat to Italy in the Six Nations is a wake-up call. It exposes tactical flaws, highlights leadership gaps, and challenges the team's mental approach to international rugby. While the RFU has publicly supported Borthwick and the squad, insiders like Ben Youngs argue that deeper reflection and urgent changes are required. The final match against France will offer one last chance to salvage pride and finish respectably. Beyond the scoreboard, however, the real test lies in whether England can recalibrate their approach, both strategically and culturally, to ensure that a defeat like this is never repeated.